Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating and quite a dramatic strategic pivot that's happening in Nepal.
It really is. We're talking about a complete reimagining of their place on the world tourism map.
Exactly. For decades, the global image of a tourist there was, it was defined by this high volume, low yield model.
The backpacker.
The classic backpacker, right?
Yeah.
You picture the hardy traveler maybe spending about $45 a day navigating the crowded streets of Thamel.
And look, that model successfully built Nepal's identity. It put them on the global adventure map, no question.
But the economic returns have become, well, increasingly marginal.
And that's the key. The sources we're looking at make it clear that model just isn't effective at shoring up what they desperately need: foreign exchange reserves.
Right. So now the government and the tourism board are pushing for a completely different vision. They're aiming for 2026.
And it's a very different picture.
A totally different picture. Imagine this. A high net worth individual. They arrive on a premium flight. They're checking into a brand new Sheraton or a Hilton, spending upwards of $200 a day.
And they are not waiting in line for a long-distance bus.
Not at all. They're taking a chartered helicopter to an exclusive high-altitude glamping retreat in a place like Mustang.
And this is so much more than just a trend toward luxury. What we're really analyzing here is a calculated and I'd say high-stakes foreign exchange strategy.
A strategy, not just a preference.
Precisely. The central question for Nepal, and this is what the source material establishes, is no longer how many tourists can we attract.
It's shifted.
It's completely shifted. The question now is, what is the net economic value of each tourist we host? And that focus on net value, that's our mission for this deep dive.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The idea of net value. You might just assume, okay, $200 is just over 4 times $45. Simple math.
A fourfold gain seems straightforward.
But if you actually dig into the economic mechanics, that linear comparison is, well, it's dangerously underestimating the true value gap.
It really is. To understand it, we need to introduce two critical economic concepts, and they can be a bit confusing, so let's break them down.
Okay, what are they?
Import leakage and the economic multiplier.
Right, so let's start with the traditional budget model, that $45 a day backpacker. Where does import leakage fit in?
With that model, the import leakage rate is incredibly high. A huge portion of that $45 is spent on goods and services that are simply not sourced locally.
Okay, so give me an example. What does that look like on the ground?
Well, think about it. The traveler buys cheap synthetic trekking gear that was made in, say, China or Vietnam, or they're snacking on a Mars bar or Pringles,
Imported confectionery, sure.
or even the food in their guest house. If it relies heavily on, for instance, imported tahini to make hummus for the tourist menu,
Then the money for that tahini is going right back out.
the money leaves the country almost as fast as it arrives. It evaporates. It provides almost no stimulus to domestic manufacturing, to local agriculture, or to certified high-quality Nepali labor.
So the local economy is really just a temporary cash register,
That's a perfect way to put it.
which makes the net value, it's got to be close to zero, maybe even negative, once you factor in the wear and tear on infrastructure.
Precisely. Now, let's contrast that with the luxury model. This is where it gets interesting because this model is specifically engineered for low leakage and a high economic multiplier.
How is it engineered that way?
Well, when you have an international five-star brand operating a Hilton, a Sheraton, their quality standards are absolutely non-negotiable.
Right. Their reputation is on the line.
They cannot serve instant coffee and foreign preserves for breakfast. Their brand image, their entire value proposition, compels them to establish robust local supply chains.
Ah, okay. So that's where the money really starts to ripple through the domestic economy.
Absolutely. That $200 plus spend creates immediate high-quality demand for specific domestic products.
Like what, for example?
This could be certified Nepali-grown organic coffee from the Gulmi region, or artisanal yak cheese from Ilam, high-end natural fibers for the textiles in the hotel rooms.
And that demand then funds what? High-value agricultural cooperatives. It supports highly skilled handicraft markets.
Exactly. It builds an entire ecosystem around it. The sources we looked at, they drive this home with a really great detail.
Go on.
One luxury guest buying a single high-quality $1,000 pashmina shawl injects significantly more net foreign exchange after you account for any leakage than 20 budget travelers each buying a cheap $50 souvenir.
Wow. That's the multiplier effect right there.
It is, and it's not just what they buy. What's also fascinating here is how they buy it, the transaction method itself.
You mean cash versus credit?
Yes. Budget travel often relies on cash, operating in a kind of gray economy, which means those precious US dollars often end up, metaphorically stuffed under a mattress or circulating informally. They completely bypass the necessary financial controls.
Preventing them from actually stabilizing the national economy.
Correct. The high-yield segment, on the other hand, is almost exclusively credit card-based.
Which is all documented.
100%. When a guest at the Sheraton swipes their platinum card, that transaction settles directly into a domestic bank account. It's fully documented, and it's immediately available to the Nepal Rastra Bank.
Which, for you listening, is the central bank.
And that formal documentation is critical for managing the country's balance of payments. Every single luxury swipe is a guaranteed direct infusion of hard currency into the system.
So this isn't just about a higher price tag. It's about formalizing the flow of foreign exchange and making sure those dollars actually stay in the bank where they can be used to stabilize the Nepalese rupee.
And buffer against the country's huge reliance on remittances, which is another key point. It's about turning tourism into a core pillar of macroeconomic stability.
And that stability requires major upgrades.
It certainly does.
So we've established how this helps the nation's bank account. Let's look at how it physically transforms the country. The sources use this great phrase for it, the hard hats and soft power dynamic.
Yes, the idea that global brands can become unintentional infrastructure catalysts, it's a powerful concept.
So how does that work?
Well, for decades, that volume-based tourism model was tolerant of, let's be honest, logistical chaos.
Backpackers almost expect it, right? It's part of the adventure. A chaotic airport, an unreliable power grid, bumpy roads.
Exactly. That tolerance meant the tourism sector had zero leverage to force any large-scale national upgrades. There was no real pressure.
But high-net-worth travelers and global brands like Hilton and Dusit Thani, they are simply not tolerant.
Not at all. Their operational calculus is totally unforgiving. If their guests are delayed for hours because of air traffic control issues at Tribhuvan International Airport, or if the water supply to their five-star kitchen is inconsistent.
It's a disaster for them. It risks their global reputation.
And that is the soft power. Their very entry into the market implicitly forces a national conversation about standards, a conversation that goes way beyond just the hospitality sector.
They effectively become a powerful new lobbying group.
A very powerful one, demanding reliable utilities, demanding efficient logistics chains. They can't just build an isolated microgrid for their hotel and call it a day.
Because they still rely on everything else.
They still rely on the stability of the public road network, on modern air traffic control, and on secure, high-bandwidth fiber optic cables.
And that pressure is what accelerates these necessary upgrades to the real bottlenecks. Things like modernizing the main international airport, TIA, and improving road connectivity between cities. This is what the sources call capital deepening, isn't it?
It is. Capital deepening means the investment goes beyond just the hotel building itself. It's about improving all the supporting national systems and processes that make the hotel viable.
And that benefits the entire economy. The investment that gets fiber optic cables laid for a luxury resort also improves connectivity for the local mechanic down the road and the remote farmer.
It creates a virtuous cycle, and it extends beyond just Kathmandu. These brands are now scrutinizing the feasibility of secondary cities.
Right. They're looking at the new international airports in places like Pokhara or Barahawa.
And when they look at those airports, they aren't just counting potential passenger arrivals, they're scrutinizing something else.
Which is?
The viability of regular cargo flights, flights that are absolutely necessary to carry the high-quality, often perishable provisions that their luxury standards require.
That makes sense. You can't run a five-star kitchen without a reliable supply chain.
So their need for secure, high-quality logistics for these provisions effectively makes the brands a de facto blueprint for what a genuine international gateway needs to be. Their supply chain demands force the public sector to upgrade its standards on things like cargo handling, security, customs efficiency.
So instead of passively waiting for tourist volume, to maybe one day fund an airport upgrade.
You attract a demanding client first, and the necessary supply-side upgrades must follow. It flips the entire development model on its head.
And all this new infrastructure allows them to sell a completely different product. Let's talk about what that product actually is. This is the crucial branding pivot.
It's a big one.
Moving away from the mass market commodified appeal of, say, Everest Base Camp, to a new narrative of exclusivity and spiritual experience. We're talking about ultra-luxury, high-altitude glamping.
In restricted, almost mythical regions like Mustang and Dolpo.
And this is a very deliberate, highly strategic rebranding tool.
Oh, absolutely. By pricing experiences in places like, say, the Shintamani Mustang, in the thousands of dollars per night, Nepal is positioning itself to compete directly with its very successful neighbor, Bhutan, and its famed high-value, low-impact tourism model.
Bhutan has really owned that high-spend, culturally immersive Himalayan travel segment for a long time. So what is Nepal's actual competitive advantage here? How can they win?
The key is diversity of product and experience. Bhutan offers a singular, state-controlled, high-tariff experience. It's very uniform.
And Nepal can offer more.
Nepal can now offer a whole spectrum. You can have the raw, challenging adventure of a classic, gritty trek for 2 weeks.
And then follow it up with a week of pampered, all-inclusive luxury in a remote, serene setting.
That peak and retreat combination is something Bhutan cannot easily replicate because of its rigid regulatory structure. It's a huge advantage.
So regions like Mustang and Dolpo, they aren't just trekking destinations anymore.
No, they're being repositioned as globally recognized symbols of exclusivity, much like the Serengeti in Tanzania or the Galapagos Islands.
But with the added allure of, Tibetan Buddhist culture and this unique ancient spiritual heritage.
Exactly. And this rebranding, it aligns perfectly with the aspirations of the fastest growing wealth segments right in their immediate vicinity.
India and China.
India and China. The target market alignment is key to making this a reliable, sustainable strategy.
How so? Let's break that down for the listener.
Well, for wealthy Indian travelers, a luxury weekend retreat in a serene Mustang resort is exotic, it's highly unique, and crucially, it's status-affirming. It's a distinct alternative to another trip to Europe.
And for the Chinese market.
For high-net-worth Chinese tourists who are increasingly seeking secure, spiritual, and wellness-focused travel away from chaotic crowds, this combination is a powerful draw. You get Nepal's heritage combined with exclusive, pampered luxury.
So the rebranding successfully shifts the country's entire image. It's no longer a destination for a gap-year student.
It's now a destination for a corporate bonus winner. It's all about securing the most reliable, high-value demographic for sustained economic input.
Okay, this sounds like the perfect economic blueprint. You're generating foreign exchange, you're forcing infrastructure upgrades, but every strategy has a pressure point. What's the biggest risk here? What could make this beautiful vision fail?
And that's the crucial element we have to discuss, the failure of execution. Because if this is successful, you get the ideal outcome. A dual-engine tourism sector.
Where the volume market still provides employment.
And the luxury segment provides a stable, concentrated stream of foreign currency. But the risk scenario is substantial.
Which is?
The creation of what you could call isolated luxury islands.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if these international brands are allowed to operate under, say, high-cost import regimes where they're just importing most of their senior management, their specialized labor, their high-value food and wine, then they'll just maximize profit repatriation.
The money goes right back out again.
It would essentially replicate the exact same economic leakage problem of the budget model, but just at a far higher price point. This leads to minimal net forex gains and often generates significant local resentment.
That would be the absolute worst outcome. All the disruption, none of the widespread economic benefit. So, if the will is there, what's preventing this successful implementation? This is the hard truth that the sources detail.
And it is a hard truth. The main obstacle is not a lack of interest from tourists or from investors. It is domestic regulatory friction and pure bureaucratic inertia.
So it's an internal problem.
Entirely. Right now, the legal system is a total maze for foreign direct investment. Investors who want to build these large-scale five-star resorts face just incredible operational challenges.
Because of things like land acquisition laws.
Exactly. Byzantine, overly complex land acquisition laws. And investors need certainty, especially when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar resort. And crucially, there is an absence of a truly empowered single-window approval system. So instead of one seamless process, an investor faces a demoralizing gauntlet of competing ministries, all operating on different timelines, all potentially contradicting each other.
That kind of regulatory friction just kills enthusiasm before the first foundation is even laid.
It does. And you add to that the inconsistent application of environmental impact assessment regulations, it's another serious friction point. Developers need clear, consistent rules to protect the pristine environments that are, ironically, the core luxury asset they're trying to sell.
So ultimately, whether this high-yield future actually works or not, it just comes down to political will.
100%. The success hinges entirely on the government replacing this endemic bureaucratic friction with a transparent, streamlined regulatory framework, one designed specifically to support these high-value, low-volume projects. The current system is actively chasing away the exact type of capital required for this national pivot.
So to wrap this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? What's the big takeaway?
I think the key is that Nepal is consciously trading volume for net economic value. It's trying to transform its tourism sector from a simple, seasonal service industry into a core pillar of macroeconomic stability and currency management.
A massive national rebranding effort with enormous implications, but only if they can overcome that internal inertia.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this raises a really important question for you to consider. We've established that the true value of high-end tourism here is its ability to act as an external forcing mechanism. It demands infrastructural upgrades and regulatory transparency that can benefit the entire nation.
So what's the question?
The question is, what other sectors in a developing economy, maybe manufacturing or renewable energy or even technology, might require that same kind of external pressure from high-standard foreign investment to finally overcome their own entrenched domestic regulatory bottlenecks?
A great thought to mull over as we consider the true costs and the true benefit of demanding global investment models. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.